collectors. We accumulate all sorts of stuff. Marion collected, among other things, frogs. Frogs had a special meaning for her. And when I was in Cracker Barrel not too long ago, I thought, Mother's Day's coming up. I ought to get some frogs in Marion's honor for the continuation of her collection. She always loved the wild woods, the mountains and the forests, and she loved a place we call Big Exotic Creek headwaters. We call it the Gulch, where she and my father, during their marriage, used to go to catch bullfrogs. Bullfrogs, in those days, that was during the Depression, were a fine commodity. They brought 50 cents a piece if you took them to the restaurants in Chattanooga to sell. And unlike most people who would just gig them with a sharp stick, my dad would catch them barehanded, and then he would put the frogs in a tow sack, a burlap sack that he slung around his shoulders, take them back, and the next day take them to Chattanooga to sell for 50 cents a piece. My mother's job, Marion's job, was to hold the flashlight, because the frogs would become fascinated with the flashlight, stare at the light, not move, and my father would sneak up behind them and grab them. Well, one time after they'd been gigging frogs and it was late at night and they were on their way home, my dad put the tow sack in the trunk of their car and he forgot to fasten the sack tightly. So when they got back to their suburban Chattanooga neighborhood on Graham Street and opened the trunk of the car, frogs went flying every which way. So they had a frog hunt all over again, all over the Chattanooga neighborhood. Unfortunately, my mother used to say they didn't find every last one. At least one or two of them died in the trunk and stank up the trunk for some time to come. Knowing this story and what fun my mother and father had catching frogs in the Gulch at Big Soddy Creek, when I see the picture of a farmer with a sack of grain over his shoulder sowing his fields, I never think of grain. I always assume, just naturally, that he's got a sack of big old bullfrogs.
I'll be loving you always with a love that's true always. When the things you find need a helping hand, I will understand always, always. Days may not be fair always, that's when I'll be there. Just an hour, not for just a day, not for just a year, but always.
This was my mother's house. Marion lived here with us until her death in 1992. She loved the yard. She loved gardening. We had a garden in the back, a vegetable garden. She loved the birds. She loved our pets. And most of all, I think she loved being a part of a real family. During all her years as a career woman, that was something she had missed. But after we returned to the United States in 1953, she married and I married, and she was able to have, through my 4 children, the experience of being, if you will, a mother. She was more like a mother to them than a grandmother, because she was clearly present in their lives from the beginning until her death. I share the home now with my son Chris and my daughter Eileen, the same members of the household who were here when Marion was still with us. Her presence is very much still with us, for hers was a strong personality, a strong presence, a strong love that we still hold for her and that we know she still holds for us.